Okay, we are recording. It is 7:02 on July 14th, and we'll call the Economic Development Commission meeting to order. Present from the commission are myself, Renee Deli, Sandy Ullerhead, Laura Parker, and Denise Luciano. Sandy, did I pronounce your last name right?
Yeah.
Okay, because I've been trying to practice it because I think I give it a hard O.
Yeah.
And then I've heard the last two meetings. I'm like, I haven't been saying her name wrong, and nobody corrected me. It's been a while I've been saying your name wrong too. I apologize. Okay, so the first item on our agenda is in respect to marijuana establishment. So I'd like to give a couple updates and then have some conversation on the last two meetings that you had with both Oasis of Tranquility and Queensbridge. And just for Laura and Denise's benefit, Sandy and I had some conversation after both meetings because I wasn't able to be present, and she brought me up to speed and had suggested kind of like an alternate, I won't call it a recommendation to the board, but alternate communication to the board, I guess, about the two applicants. So if I may first just give you guys a quick update. I did hear back from town council, I think it was yesterday actually, on the HCA for Lucky Green Ladies. So I have a couple of changes to make, just changes to accept, and then that will be sent to Nick and Alyssa. They're unable to make the board meeting on July 22nd, so they'll be on the next board meeting for a presentation. And my hope is that we will have the HCA negotiated by then, because we do want that done before it goes to the board. My plan on that is to get those materials to the board well in advance so that we can actually discuss and vote in the same meeting. I just want to make sure everybody is comfortable doing that. The other thing, Janice had sent me an email just this morning she sent to myself and Mike Units, providing updates that she's been accepted to Cultivate's launch program. Cultivate is the cannabis establishment up in, I'm going to butcher the name, is it Leicester, Mass? So 2 syllables, a whole lot of vowels.
Yep.
So what that is she said it'll serve as an incubator for any of the cannabis establishments and ensure a smooth transition into the industry. So it sounds like it'll be a benefit to her and kind of a resource pool to help her as she moves forward. The other thing as well is she did receive her pre-certification approval from the CCC for the delivery operator license as well. So that that helps on the other establishments or HCA that she'll need. But she did note that she needs a signed HCA in order to move forward with that. I think that is it. She did reach out to myself and Mike last week. Mike was on vacation, so I told her we would follow up. I also said I was waiting just to connect with you guys too on next steps. So just wanted to give you those updates for informational purposes. And then I guess maybe Sandy, I'll turn it over to you if you want to give me an update on or if we just want to have some discussion on Oasis and Queensbridge, the last two presentations, to kind of wrap it up, and we can move to whatever the next step is.
Yeah, I think I told everybody at the last meeting that I did write up something based on our discussion just to send to, it was Oasis was the first one, right? So I wrote something up for them. I can do the same thing for Queensbridge. It's going to be pretty similar. Although I do think we heard a little bit more from Queensbridge about their odor mitigation than I feel like we heard from Oasis. But I'm not sure. We also didn't ask a whole lot of questions, so it's very possible that they have the same plan and the same. I think they are using the same sort of resources for their odor mitigation plan. So. Yeah, so at this point, that I had sent that to you, Renee, and I don't know, you had written it up into a letter to Mike. Did you send that to Mike?
I did not. Based on our next conversation, I didn't send it to him. I did update both he and Paul on what we talked about, and I said let's hang tight for the commission's stance. And the other thing I did too is I look back and I know from what you said, rather than a recommendation, the commission preferred to maybe just give some supporting documentation of what we felt were the strengths and what we felt were things that they could potentially improve to be successful. And I was looking, we actually did something similar with the retail. If you remember, we provided the board with an Excel that had like a pros and cons.
Right.
So maybe we just set it up like that if that's the pleasure of the commission to do. And then that way we can provide that information, present it to the board, you know, before or after the presentation from the applicants, if that's what we're looking for.
That's fine. I think I did sort of the same thing in that narrative form, but certainly if people wanted to add things to, there might be things people wanted to add now that, you know, I think when we left the first meeting, I don't think we talked about specifically what that list was going to look like. So I just wrote it up based on our conversation, but we can certainly get more into those details if we wanted to add more to that.
Okay, so what you sent me was for Oasis. Is that essentially the same representation for Queensbridge too, or would there be some differences?
So I don't know if personally I felt that the only, you know, the same concern, right? Because I think Laura gave sort of the same spiel at both meetings to both companies about the concerns being, or the recommendation that they at least get somebody either has done manufacturing or who could advise them, or, you know, so she had given those details, and I did write pretty much verbatim of what she said.
Okay.
And I think, you know, the only big difference to me is, like I said, the second presentation, and I still haven't gotten the presentations from Tiffany. She's supposed to send both the PowerPoints to me, because I was kind of curious, rather than having to watch both meetings all over again. I wanted to see from the PowerPoints what the difference was between their presentations. Because I mean, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, Laura and Denise, Cody, I don't know if you were there for both, but whether I felt like they didn't go into that detail of the odor mitigation in the first one. And I feel like there were just more details in the Queensbridge that, and more people we heard from that were involved in it versus just advisors, right? That we heard a lot from the people who were going to be advisors for Oasis. And I think there's still some questions based on sort of they were supposed to send us an updated org chart too, for both companies, because there's still, the last org chart we had, they were still talking about, you know, these advisors or I forget what verbiage they use, but advisors or consultants. And they didn't seem to actually have people in those positions, in a lot of those key positions.
That was Oasis of Tranquility.
Right.
And that was surprising to me. So in their org chart, in their packet, they had the levels, they had the names, and next to it, it said advisor. And when I asked Queensbridge, I don't understand the business model here, considering you've got two different companies that are conceivably going to be competing, but you have shared resources in terms of management. And that's when I think it was Tiffany had clarified, which I did not fully grasp the first time around, that Oasis of Tranquility has no C-suite. They're basically on loan from Queensbridge. So that knocks them down a little bit even further, in my opinion. Oasis of Tranquility, if they don't have their management in place, they're not ready.
The only thing I would say is that I think we heard a little bit more about odor mitigation from Queensbridge. That's only because I think Cody asked some really good pointed questions, and we didn't have those necessarily when we talked to Oasis.
Denise, they actually had that in their PowerPoint though. They had all of the, I mean, yeah, Cody asked the question, but they had that all outlined in their PowerPoint, what the odor mitigation was. Like they had said to Cody when he asked the question, well, we're going to hold off on that if you don't mind till we get to that point in our presentation. And then they had, I forget who it was who presented, but somebody, you know, who clearly knew a lot about the lot more than didn't speak at the first one, Oasis of Tranquility, and spoke, you know, with much more in depth about their plans and everything for the second one.
And I wondered, I'm sorry, Cody, go ahead.
I was going to say that was the general concept.
I would agree, but I think in fairness to that where they are reusing the same resource between both companies, we gave that feedback with Oasis and Tranquility, right? We said you're gonna need to make sure you button up and be ready to answer questions about odor mitigation. So they had time to prepare for that when they came back for Queensbridge.
Possibly. It didn't seem like it was a last minute thing on Queensbridge's part that they had come up with that, though. That seemed like they had really thought that out and had it well developed. And I didn't feel like we got that impression from Oasis. So I'm not sure why the presentations were to me, so different. And maybe that's just my memory, but that's why I wanted to see them kind of side by side, and see if my memory was kind of correct on that they seemed to be different presentations. I think Queensbridge for sure had different people presenting, and people, again, who were actually involved in the organization as opposed to, just consultants and legal and advisors and things. But I don't know, is that, would that all be the same for Oasis? I don't know. They certainly didn't, we gave them several chances to come up with a presentation. That was their final presentation, is the way I took it for Oasis.
Who presented for Oasis again?
Well, Tiffany did in part, right? And then
Okay.
Hang on, I'm
there were
looking
two
it up.
lawyers.
Brent? Was it Brent? I
Give me
can't,
a second.
or Rich Archibald.
I'm pulling my notes. Hang on.
I can keep throwing out names until you get there.
Yeah, I can see his face. I don't remember his name.
It was
Hang on.
it was two people from the legal field, right?
Yeah, they were. One was a lawyer, definitely.
Are you talking about David? Oh my, I'm drawing a blank, and I can't get my headset to work.
I mean, in both times they changed up the org chart from what they originally presented, or what they originally have in their documentation. So their presentation also doesn't match their documentation. And so I did ask if they could send us a new org chart to reflect the updates that they made. But I didn't get that either, in addition to the PowerPoints.
I mean, it seems odd to me that you saw something that was very different, given that, one is consulting for the other. So you would expect that to see the same. But so I have as follow-ups right now that we need updated org charts from both, or just Oasis?
Both, I think.
Oh, okay. And then, so updated org charts from both, updated PowerPoints from both, and then updated odor mitigation plan from Oasis.
Yeah, I mean, their building layouts are identical, right? It's the exact same building layout. There's no difference between the two of them, really, except for the function of, like, one does the delivery to the other retailers, and one does the manufacturing, right?
No, one does transport and one does delivery.
Yeah.
Queensbridge did the transport, Oasis not, but I think they both do manufacturing.
Cody, you're kind of coming through electronically, robotically.
Garbled.
If that didn't work, I'm gonna log off tomorrow.
It's a little better. I heard an echo though.
You may log out and log back in.
I didn't understand that. I don't know if I did. Oh, he's calling back in. I mean, so I guess what I would say, certainly not to stop the discussion, but if we get some points together of what's been discussed, right, for both of them, like a pros and cons type thing, I can reach out to these guys and get the updates. I mean, as far as, if the ultimate thought is that, we'd want to provide this feedback to the board and have the groups present to the select board. I mean, we have time. right? Because Mike and I would start to look at the HCAs and try to negotiate the HCAs, and we're looking at 6 or 7, right? So it's not like this is going to happen overnight. So we certainly, you know, we can keep moving forward, and if the overall opinion is to move forward with these guys, you know, with the opinions provided to the select board, then Mike and I can start having conversations on, you know, in parallel. But it will, you know, that process is going to take time. Because I think at this point, I'd have to look through, but I know the first HCA they sent us was back in January, and I gave a lot of comments on it, and I don't remember seeing an updated one from them. I'll have to look through my email, but I know I haven't received multiple. So there's more work on that side to do. And again, you know, the goal is to present the entire package to the select board so that they can review it and you know, make a decision shortly after it's being presented. Cody, back?
I'm here. I don't know if that did any better.
It sounds better to me.
Okay. I don't know why my brand new camera is not working anymore. Sorry about that.
Do you remember what your thought was before?
Oh, Queensbridge does the transportation, but Oasis and Queensbridge both do manufacturing. That was my understanding.
Yes, you're right. Sorry, I keep confusing them, but yes, you're right.
And in transportation, there was some indication at one of the earlier discussions that essentially they can evolve the transportation into direct sales to deliver to homes, because retailers can't do that. So they can, because of the transport license or whatever, they can do home delivery. And so,
well, it's a different license. So it's not like a transferable type thing. You know, so for example, retailers can get the courier license, and non-retailers get the delivery operator license. The transport license, to my understanding, is separate. So Janice will have, with Oasis, she'll have the delivery operator license that, and Cody, I think you missed the update. She received pre-certification from the CCC on that already.
okay.
So they are different.
But that's on the Oasis side, not.
That's on the Oasis side, yeah. But I'm not familiar, unless something changed recently, that a transportation license morphs into a delivery operator license.
Yeah, I don't know the difference. I just know that when they were talking about Queensbridge before, one of the earlier meetings, that they were talking about doing deliveries.
Yeah, and one distinction between the two as well is Oasis is the, and I'm going to butcher it, the social equity candidate, and the delivery and courier licenses are limited to those applicants, I think, for 3 years from the first one being established. And I don't know if anybody knows, and Alyssa probably would know if anybody has established a delivery or courier license in Massachusetts already.
2 people.
2 people have? They're already operating?
Yeah, but they're couriers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has that started the clock?
Yes, that has started the clock. Oh, no. An operator has to open 2. And then once the first there has to be 2 of them going at this for it to start.
Okay. So let's cross our fingers and hope that in 2 months, the clock starts ticking.
So I guess a point I wanted to ask on that is, obviously, we as a town decided to open it up to 2 retailers, and we want those 2 retailers to be successful because we've got the HDAs in place with them. So is there any conflict or any reservation that anyone would have on basically opening it up to another entity like a cultivator that has a transportation that can do delivery that basically becomes a direct competitor to the two that we have, you know, the two retailers that can't do delivery. I mean, or is there an opportunity to kind of cross market that where whoever has the delivery license can partner with those two retailers to deliver on their behalf?
Yeah, a retailer can contract for delivery with another company
Okay.
that is licensed.
But the cultivators that have that license to deliver and are manufacturing could, in theory, just do direct deliveries of their own stuff that they're manufacturing. In addition,
Only the courier license, not the delivery courier license, not the transport license. So in this case, only Queensbridge.
gotcha.
Sorry,
Oasis.
Oasis.
Oasis, reverse it.
So
As soon as I
it's,
said
it's
it, I'm
like,
like, no, that's not right.
yeah, it's like the Uber Eats versus the, I don't know, like just doing it from commercial to commercial or retail to retail, right?
The armored car service versus, I'll give my wife credit for DoorDash. Like it's DoorDash, but we hash.
Yeah, that's the delivery, and the courier license is the DoorDash equivalent
Right.
because you're going direct to consumer.
Right. So that's
Yeah.
that was one of the questions I had that I was at least concerned about, that, you know, if we've opened it up for the two retailers and we want them to succeed, you know, opening it up even further to direct competition for, you know, I'm not a pothead, but I know a lot of potheads and they're lazy. They don't want to get up and go to the store, and if they can get it delivered, then they'll get it delivered. You know?
Well, I mean, here's the thing, Cody, right? They either deliver it from Norton or they deliver it from somewhere else.
True. Yeah, that's true.
So if it's in Norton, we're going to get the same excise tax on it.
And Mansfield just approved one, didn't they?
Who? I'm sorry, who?
Mansfield is getting at least a retailer. I don't know if they're doing.
Yeah, like the retail, the one they approved last year or at the end of the year before.
Yeah, there's
The one by the massage place and the wings
yeah,
and the chocolate factory.
yeah. If you
Factory.
Google, you know, dispensaries, there's one that shows up in Mansfield already. It's
Yeah.
not actually open yet, but yeah.
Right. Yeah, and so and I know you mentioned earlier about the numbers, right? So we in the bylaw limited the town to 2 retailers. Because we are a yes vote for the state, we do not have the ability to limit any other establishment within marijuana. It's just the retail. It's the dispensaries.
So Renee, I'm not sure, you know, I know other towns have sort of put a hiatus on HCAs, like Lakeville particularly had at one point, you know, said we're going to hold off. We had a pretty lengthy discussion at one of our meetings back in April, that where we talked about, you know, is there going to be a cap? And I guess this is a question for the select board, really, that since ultimately it's up to you to decide what HCAs you want to approve, but is there ever going to be a point in which you feel like, okay, let's put a hold on, you know, but like what Lakeville did, which whereas they had signed so many HCAs, they said we're going to put sort of a cap, not a cap, but a hold on new HCAs for the next 6 months, a year, or whatever it was, just to let those get started that they had already approved. And again, that's a select board decision. So I think that the EDC for the consensus was that people wanted to just leave it open and let free market decide, you know, in terms of the competition, you know, let sort of as many in as want to come in terms of the delivery. But that's, again, the decision that the select board would have to be in charge of making. So if they are considering at any point saying, you know, we have too many, let's hold off, then that would be good information for us to know.
Yeah, I mean, that conversation hasn't come up, right? Because we're not really at that point.
Right.
But that's not saying it won't come up with the next 3 coming in. I mean, I don't see, you know, from perspective of like saturation of market, like we just don't have that much land available, right? So I don't see beyond these potential 2 properties and maybe 2 others that have been sought after that we would have much more interest or be able to accommodate somebody in town. I mean, we've had people come, right? We've had people put offers down on properties and they couldn't buy them. So they just, you know, one specifically went to Lakeville, right? And they're about to open up. So it's a good point. And, you know, to what you said, it's going to be the select board, you know, making that decision, or the select board could say, well, we want to, you know, if we did something official, like with a bylaw, that would be something with a vote, ballot, all that good stuff. I don't see that happening, but I mean, we'll see the conversation. I haven't heard that as of yet. And the board's been, you know, I've given updates multiple times about us having conversations with 3 different folks at this point. You know, I think that they all have something unique where I don't know that necessary. I think the conversation will go to, you know, do we want 2 cultivators so close to each other? Like, what's the benefit to the town? What's, you know, the risk to the town? I see that being more the discussion than like an overall cap at this early stage. Okay, so with that, we got 2 minutes left. Cody, I know you missed our, we're going to try to wrap up at 7:30. So do we want to move forward? I'll shoot these guys notes for some of the follow-ups, and then Sandy, can you kind of lead the, at least I know you gave me Oasis on like the concerns and on the improvements, and then the other, and then can you do that for Queensbridge?
Yeah,
And
I
then
just,
we'll-
if anybody has anything to add that they didn't say at the meeting, would you want them, can they just email me those?
Yeah, I think so. I'm fine with you compiling.
Because
you
I
want me to
had
send
a
a note
couple
to the
other
group?
thoughts that I, you know, wouldn't mind adding, but you know, I don't want to make sure anybody else who had specific
No.
thoughts. After hearing both, I feel like after I heard the second one, I kind of, you know, got some more thoughts on both of them.
Sure. No,
Yeah.
I would say, do you want to email the group and just say, hey, you know, we're going to compile a list for both, and
Sure.
then just collect it all. We can review it the next meeting, or, I mean, you know, again, like I said, we have some time because we still have other work to do on the HDA side.
So Renee, I just missed just my notes. You said you're going to send follow-ups to Queensbridge and Oasis.
Yes.
What
So
follow-ups are you sending them?
I'm going to ask them for the updated org charts, the updated PowerPoints, and then for Oasis, the updated their odor mitigation plan.
Okay.
Those are my follow-ups. Okay. Anything more on those? It's 7:30, but I'm going to ask Laura. I didn't know if you had an update on the business database. Sandy had mentioned it, so I put on the agenda just in case.
I do. It's ready to go, but it's going to need a little instruction. So if you want to hold off, it might be helpful if we did it when there were more people.
Okay.
And Paul was available,
Okay.
because I think he'll appreciate it as well.
Okay.
So I'm fine if you want to put it off.
Sure. Okay. We can do that. And then Denise, did she drop already?
I'm still here.
Okay. It's 7:30. So if you want to go, you can. We'll just talk about meeting logistics. And I think you sent us 3 meeting minutes to approve.
I
think-
have a few minutes. I can spare a few minutes here still. Yep.
Okay, so do we want to talk, Sandy had mentioned about meeting logistics. So right now we're still virtual. Do we want to, what's the appetite to stay virtual, go hybrid, or do in person? I can tell you, I'm probably at least a meeting out from being able to meet in person.
For me, I can accommodate either one. It's just that the extracurricular activities are ramping up for the kids, so I might have to like leave and come back on several meetings. Because
Okay.
Jeff's traveling a lot more now too.
Sure. Laura, Sandy, or Cody?
I'm comfortable either way. If we wanted to keep doing it this way, I'm fine with it. If we wanted to meet in person, I'm okay with it too. You know, I think it depends on where you tell me we're meeting. If you're going to try and jam us all in the little break room, then yeah, virtual is great.
Right.
Good point.
So, you know, if we've got, you know, the library or the media center, those are, we can spread out, we're comfortable, everybody can bring laptops and whatever. And from what I understand, there's overhead that we can share screens. So
I remember how well that worked in the selectmen's meeting room.
yeah, I'm hoping this works better.
Yeah.
From what I understand, it's all new stuff. So
Right. I mean, that's to have hybrid too, right? Like we can just say we're having in person and open it up. But to your point, it needs to be bigger than that little cafeteria space. So
Yeah.
I don't know of space outside of the 3 anyway, where we can hold a meeting that would be big enough. Right. The media
what about
center, the library and the second floor.
second floor. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the hybrid locations.
Okay.
So should we check availability of those locations first, right?
Yeah, I mean, we would have to if we wanted to do that. I would just need to know if we want to go hybrid or if we want to
Well,
just meet.
Who else meets on Wednesdays? Is it
That's,
ZBA?
ZBA.
Yeah, I know that was
So
the
we're gonna-
last time I wanted to try to get the media center was the ZBA was already had it.
ZBA isn't usually up on the second floor.
For that meeting that, when we originally had to meet in person, but then they changed it at the last minute. Jason said that they were using the media center that night.
I think it depends on how many people they expect, right, from the public, like what they're hearing.
Maybe.
So I think we probably have a little more leeway with that.
They did hybrid though, so yeah, I mean, I don't mind like what we used to do in terms of remote participation. I know with Charter Commission it worked okay with a couple people like once in a while. The idea of a hybrid running smoothly, and everybody being able to hear on each side and all those logistics. I mean, I don't know. I prefer that that applicants, if we're going to meet in person, I prefer that anybody who wants to talk to us come meet in person with us. But I don't know if we still give them the option or what.
Yeah, it's up to us. So let me ask you this. I know, Jandy, you're away next meeting. So let's ask first, do we want to have a meeting on the 28th? Or do we want to kind of take one meeting off for the summer? And then we can, I can shoot an email in between, or we can just plan to meet virtually on the 11th and revisit this a little closer to the end of summer.
We don't have anything pressing. I wouldn't mind getting the 28th, taking the 28th off. There's nothing pending us having discussion right now, other than the stuff that we got ongoing, right?
Yeah, I don't, like I said, I mean, we still have some time on that
The property.
to get information, right?
Yeah.
I guess it's a database. I'd ask Laura if the database, what you wanted to share for the business database, if that's more pressing and you wanted to keep the next meeting.
It'll hold.
Okay.
And I just looked at the calendar. That's my nephew's birthday. So it all depends on what their sport and extracurricular activities are, but there's a chance I may not be available that night, depending on what my sister does.
Okay, so I would just say let's cancel the 28th and take that as summer vacation for us, and then we'll have our next meeting on August 11th. And I can email the group if there's a strong desire to meet in person. I can figure out with Charlene, ask her to find meeting space. If not, we'll meet Zoom and we can talk more about meeting logistics. Does that work?
Fair.
Okay.
Renee, can I add to the next meeting too?
Yes.
If Paul could give us an update. I know he had said in the email when he sent us a draft for the master plan that either he or maybe somebody from Serpent, I don't remember which it was, would kind of explain our part, because there are several sections where EDC is listed as a responsible party for getting some of the things. So if we can maybe get either an overview from him or just kind of focus ourselves on wherever it says EDC and how we're gonna go forward.
Sure.
Oh,
Okay.
I missed that. I didn't realize we were responsible for something on the master plan.
Yeah, I did a quick search like for economic development, and there was a few spots that we came up.
I think it said economic development, Denise Luciano.
No, it did not.
Sure. The other thing I had too is we talked a while ago about the water and sewer commission, or having Frank in to talk about kind of the plans for growth. Paul brought something up recently too about there are new hookup fees, and whether or not we could discuss like an incentive program, especially for new businesses coming into town. So I can see what their availability is, just to have some initial conversations with them. But I'd like to see, you know, I know what that, I don't know how much they're aligned to the master plan, but I'd like to see some alignment at least with what they have planned, right, for new infrastructure and where we can actually have some economic growth.
And that was with Paul DiGiuseppe, and who is the other person?
That would be with the Water Sewer Commission, or Frank Fournier with, is he the, I can't remember his title. Is he a director now?
Frank Fournier.
Yeah. Oh, did I pronounce his last? I gave him a French pronunciation. Yeah. I remember I reached out to him and they said that he sent me the plan, which is long. So I think a conversation would be nice with them.
Okay.
So I have that. For anything else for other agenda items?
Renee, this is Chris. May have approximately 2 minutes just to share some information with the board or the commission.
Is it something on our agenda, Chris?
Yeah, it related to the to Laura's subject relative to the business partnerships.
Okay. Well, we were going to table that. So
Okay.
can we get you on our next meeting to talk
no,
to it then?
Yeah, no problem. It's not time sensitive, and it ties into the master plan as well. So
Okay.
I'll lower my hand.
Okay. No, that's great. Thank you. And you know, to Laura's point, it'll be helpful to have more of the commission members on as well. Okay. So I think we're good. You want to hit the meeting minutes approvals very quickly. Denise had sent these out for review. I have 2 of them in my email, June 16th, 2021 and June 30th, 2021. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes as submitted.
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay. I'm writing this down, Denise, in case you have to move.
I'm typing quick.
Okay. Sandy,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Denise,
Yes.
and I too vote yes. So those 2 meeting minutes are approved. And Denise, thank you so much for keeping up on these.
I just missed motion in the second. The motion was Sandy, second was Laura, or did I get it
Yes.
backwards?
Nope, you got it right. Okay. Any other business to come before the commission? Cool. I'm 10 minutes off, but thank you guys. And thank you, Sandy, so much for your help with the last 2 meetings. I really appreciate it, and your extra time and updating me afterwards. Many thanks. I owe you one. And I owe Denise. I think I'm just going to have to take you guys out for dinner and drinks.
Thanks are fine.
Okay. Either. Okay. So with that, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn at 7:40 p.m.
So moved.
That was a fast one. I can't even write that down fast enough. Okay. Sandy,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Denise,
Yes.
and I too am a yes. And thank you guys so much. Enjoy being off for our summer vacation, and we'll see you back August 11th, meeting place to be determined.
Thank you.
Hey guys, thank you so much.
Have a good
Thanks,
night.
guys.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.